let's go! Finally, dude! Ah, yeah! Oh, let's go, dude! 10 Fable, baby! 341. Woo! All right. Oh, let's go, dude! 15 kills! 15 kills, baby! 1 dime, easy! Hello guys, and welcome to my in-depth guide on pheasant grinding for the Great One. We're going to be on the map, Pheasant Park, and I'm going to show you everything that you need to know to start filling your lodge with the amazing trophies that the pheasant do provide. They have amazing looking rares, and a lot are out there. You just have to shoot through them to get to them. But so far in the grind, I have 3 great ones. The first one took me a little over 3,700 kills. I got a pretty fast follow-up at 341, and then on the third one, which was the pearl up on the right here, it actually came in at 15 kills. All right, so let me show you now where you're gonna find any pheasant zones on the map. So everywhere you can find the pheasant currently is along the left side here, from the top of the map down. So you have them all the way down here along the left side and on the interior part of this side of the map, all the way down to the very bottom. Now on the right side here, I only have the 1 feed zone right here. Now you might be able to have more, but I personally only have 1. Okay, now another area I call Wishbone right here. It comes up like this area here. Now you won't have any right here in this little bit of a patch here, so it's like a broken wishbone if you can kind of visualize that. But you can have zones all the way down this. I have them even here. This was actually one of the flocks that I shot down. And then you can have them all through here as well. And I have had pheasant over here as well. It was a solo. I did shoot it, but you can have them here. Outside of that, the entire right half of this map, you can have pheasant anywhere here. Now, during their feed times, you're going to be looking in the clearings. So in the wooded areas down here, there's all these little clearings, and in the open fields is where you'll find them feeding. I have not found any pheasant zones for feeding inside of like the actual wooded area. I have only seen rest zones in there. Now, that doesn't mean that you can't have it. It's just I personally haven't seen it yet. Over here also on this one little portion of the map, I haven't had any zones over here for pheasant at all. I do HM for the pheasant, and I will show you exactly how I got to where I'm at. I have generally around like a 1 in 20 to 1 in 35 dime rate currently, and just waiting on the great one essentially as you're shooting through them. You know, at the start, you're not going to want to worry too much about what's in what flock and stuff like that. Don't worry about shooting your solos. Any solo females that you have, you're not going to shoot at all. There's literally no point in that. Any males that you have, you're definitely going to want to shoot the level 2s and stuff eventually, but just currently at the very beginning, focus on getting set up on the flocks. What I did is I actually set up on 16 flocks. I have 17 total flocks that I've found on the map so far. And what I did is I rotated those 16 until one of the flocks that was actually in a really kind of bad location, until it had 2 level 1 males spawn into it. Once that happened, I picked up that tent and blind and I moved it over to the 17th zone, and then I just rotated those 16. Now over time, I started stacking level 3s into my main flocks, and I got up to about 5. So as I was stacking the level 3s though, what I did is I took out of the 16 zones that I was actually rotating on, I decided that I was going to shoot down 4 of those zones down to level 1. So 4 of the 16 I shot down, so I had 12 remaining zones that I was rotating on and trying to stack level 3s into. And again, those 4 shooting down to level 1s. Now once those got shot down to level 1s, the intention wasn't to leave them as level 1s. I just needed placeholders to swap out large males later. Okay, and that's the solo level 2s, or maybe you have a level 3 in the solo that you're trying to get into a good flock, right? I will have a couple of different tips for setting up your different zones. So we'll start with a PC kind of focus build where you place down a tent directly on a zone with a blind and you shoot them. After the hotfix, they do flee quickly, so you will be coming out into a flying shooting scenario. And we'll also go over a more console or controller player friendly setup to where you can actually snipe them from a distance. You will be grounding the birds mostly in this type of grind, except for obviously if you have a rare or a diamond or a great one that happens to spawn, you'll have to get them into the air, whether it's through using the dog to flush them or walking up to it yourself to get it airborne. The grounding does not affect the actual grind itself. The great one spawning is purely RNG as far as when it's going to spawn. It's just a small percent chance that it's going to happen, so you just have to shoot your way to it. All right, let's get onto the map. One quick little thing before we get started here. I'm actually going to show you my loadout that I use. It's been really effective for me, and I highly recommend it. It's stuff that you can get through the base game for the Cacciatore 12 gauge, which works really well for them, and the Ranger 243, just in case you see anything that is class 2 and higher on the map. So it'll give you two options to take those out here. The one DLC weapon I do run is the Zarza 22LR Predator. It works really well for when they get airborne and out of shotgun range. Other than that, I use the Apex View binoculars and then just a tent on me just in case, right? Sometimes whenever you set up on zones like this, if there's an animal inside of the tent or around the tent, whenever you come to it, it will kick these back up in your inventory and you'll have to replace the tent down. So I carry a tent just so I don't get stuck out in a zone with no tent and then have to walk back to that location. What I like to do is whenever I get started, I will actually come over here in the grind and I set my time to 1700. I rest and then I'll actually main menu. And what this does is it resets the aggro on any of the flocks that you've been hunting. When you come back in, one little thing that I've noticed is that a lot of times the birds are not in their zones. And so if you come here right after you come in off of a fresh main menu, move the time forward by 1 minute and rest again. Then you just come into the first zone of the grind, which mine is here. Okay, perfect. So it actually didn't work right now. So the 1 minute trick over there did not work. So this is actually another really important thing. So if you happen to come to a tent and your pheasant are not there, it kind of costs some money to do the time changes. However, you make a lot of money hunting pheasant. In fact, I've made probably around $4 million so far since they released, and it's really, really simple to pay for this and not even worry about it. So I come back over and what I'll do is I'll move the time forward again by 1 minute. And then you look back out and you see this right here, how all of the need zone grass and everything and the tracks have actually appeared. So as soon as you do that, they're basically in their zone. And what you'll do is you'll come to your map again and fast travel in on the same tent. And just like that, as you can see, we have our pheasant and they are currently fleeing. Got a little level 1 here. We would normally take that. However, I actually don't grind or shoot off stream. Everything is live on Twitch. There is a link in the description if you would like to click over there and drop me a follow. That right there is a quick rundown though, just in case you're not seeing your stuff directly in the zone. And so for the console players out there, what we're going to do is with the waypoint down on the zone, we're actually going to move back to a range that allows you to be able to set a tripod and be able to shoot into the zone from a greater distance. Now it doesn't have to be all the way out. So like, as you can see, the range here is kind of far. We're about 140-ish. So I'd say like right about here, you should be able to place a tripod and then have your tent just back further away, right? So with the actual tent, you're going to want to go back to about 200 meters. So more walking is definitely involved, but this will allow you to be able to shoot without having to have them flying directly as soon as you spawn into the tent. All right, so now once all of your zones are clearly set up on and you're ready to start getting into some rotations, go ahead and start rotating. Rotate your 16 zones. Again, if you're going to herd manage and get things shot down to where you want to try and shoot down your solos, and start stacking level 3s into your main flocks. Once you get the 3s stacked up in there, a decent amount, I'd say, 5 or more at least. And then the 4 zones I talked about earlier, shot down to level 1s. What you're going to want to do then is actually start looking for good size solos. Now, if you remember where they're at and you marked them on your previous walkthrough, that's even better. It's going to be faster for you to be able to do this. Personally, it took me about 5 hours to shoot about 30 birds in my solo zones in order to try and get them to swap around. The way that I did that is I would go out, just run the map, and when I would see a large solo that I wanted to shoot, what I would do is go ahead and take that solo, shoot it, pick it up, and then I would fast travel over to a zone that had my level 1s in it, and I would take out those level 1s, both of them. I wouldn't leave one. I would take 2 because it gives you 2 possible positions for that solo to swap into rather than just 1-to-1. For me, it seemed to work really well, and my solos actually swapped pretty quickly. After just putting in that little bit of extra time to go out and work through my solos like that, my dime rate went from about 1 in 140 to 1 in 35, and then I found another like 2. I found 2 more large level 2s in solos that I ended up swapping into another flock, and then my dime rate got into that 1 in 20 to 1 in 35 range. So that's really good for pheasant. I mean, I'm not trying to extremely do it, but so far I've pulled a lot of diamonds and a lot of really good size rares. All right, so that's basically all the tips that I have for you guys as far as the pheasant grind. Again, if there's any questions that you have or anything like that, again, feel free to drop me a follow on Twitch. If any of the tips in this video helped you out, please leave a like and consider subscribing. It greatly helps me out, and I would appreciate it a lot. Feel free to join the Twitch live streams anytime and ask questions. If you're unclear on something, I have no problem answering them. Also, in the description, there is a link to the Discord. You're more than welcome to join. And in there, you can get notified when I go live, and you can actually ask questions as well. I do answer in there, and I look forward to meeting you guys, all right? Hopefully, your grind goes well, and you get the great one. I enjoyed it. It's one of the funnest grinds that I've done so far. My favorite was Black Bear, specifically just because it was fast-paced, and, you know, hitting the 4-lake method and stuff was really good. But this one right here is a whole new level with the varying shooting that you have to do, switching from 12 gauge to a 22 and stuff like that. I'm just having a great time with it and look forward to doing more of it. Again, thank you guys so much for watching, and have a good one.